Welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today we're taking a journey into some really ancient but incredibly powerful source material, excerpts from the prophetic book of Hosea.
Mm-hmm.
It's a text that, well, it definitely doesn't pull any punches, delivers a message that's raw, profound, and honestly might surprise you.
It often does.
Okay, let's unpack this.
We certainly are. We're diving into Hosea's words. He was a prophet, active during a pretty turbulent time for both Judah and Israel.
Right, the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, Hezekiah in Judah, and Jeroboam in Israel. A lot going on then.
Exactly. And what hits you right from the start, the very beginning, is this: the Lord commands Hosea, the prophet himself, to marry an adulterous wife.
Yeah.
This isn't just, a story he tells. It's a lived parable. It's designed quite deliberately to embody Israel's spiritual unfaithfulness.
So his own life becomes the message.
Precisely. And the core tension running through these chapters is just striking. You have this profound betrayal by the people, countered by an even more profound, almost relentless love from the divine.
It feels incredibly personal.
It does. It frames it as a deeply personal story, a relationship story, really, much more than just abstract theology.
And it kicks off with that command, which must have been just, well, scandalous.
Absolutely.
The text in Hosea 1 says, "Go, take to yourself an adulterous wife and children of unfaithfulness, because the land is guilty of the vilest adultery in departing from the Lord." Can you help us feel the full weight of that? What did this lived parable communicate that maybe just words couldn't?
Well, that's the heart of it, isn't it? For a prophet to actually embody God's pain and message through such a publicly shameful act, that was something else.
Unprecedented.
Pretty much. It wasn't just a metaphor they could discuss and forget. It was like a visceral, inescapable mirror held right up to Israel, showing them the real personal impact of their betrayal on their divine husband, so to speak. And the insight there is about how far divine love is willing to go, even sharing in the shame and pain of that betrayal. And Hosea, his obedience is, frankly, remarkable.
He just does it. Marries Gomer, daughter of Diblaim.
He does, as it says right there in verse 3.
So his life is this living sermon. How does this continue with their children? Do they become part of the message too?
Oh, absolutely. The symbolism deepens quite significantly with the names of their children. Each name carries immediate and long-term implications for both Israel and Judah.
Okay, so the first one.
There's Jezreel. You find this in Hosea 1, verses 4 and 5. His name points back to a specific bloody event, a massacre in the valley of Jezreel by a previous dynasty, the house of Jehu.
Right, a historical event.
Yes, and initially, the name signals punishment for that violence that, even if initially sanctioned, went too far, became a symbol of brutal power. So Jezreel marks the end, really, the coming end of the kingdom of Israel.
That sounds final.
It does. But here's where Hosea gets interesting. There's this surprising twist later in the text. In chapters 1 and 2, the phrase, "Great will be the day of Jezreel," comes up again. But now it's flipped. It shifts from judgment to a promise of, reunification and future abundance.
That's quite a turnaround. What does that pivot tell us, going from judgment to hope, using the same name?
I think it speaks to a core tension in the book. Judgment is real. Yes, consequences are real. But it's often not the final word. It hints that God's ultimate purpose leans towards restoration.
Yeah.
Towards a future where even past failures can be redeemed somehow.
Okay, so Jezreel is complex. What about the next child?
Next, we get Lo Ruhamah, found in Hosea 1, verses 6 and 7. It literally means not loved.
Oof, that's harsh.
It is. It signifies the Lord withdrawing his love, his Ruhamah, his compassion and forgiveness from the house of Israel. But again, there's a contrast.
For Judah.
Right. Strikingly, there's a distinct promise for Judah. I will show love Ruhamah to the house of Judah, and I will save them. But notice how, not by bow, sword, or battle, but by the Lord their God. Salvation comes differently for them.
Interesting distinction. And the third child, Lo-Ammi.
Yes, Lo-Ammi, chapter 1, verse 9, meaning, not my people.
Doesn't get much clearer than that.
No, it declares, you are not my people and I am not your God. It sounds like a complete severing of the relationship, a total break.
But just when you think, okay, that's it, judgment confirmed, the text seems to do another one of those dramatic pivots you mentioned right there in the next verse.
Exactly. It's quite stunning, actually. Verse 10 immediately promises that the very same Israelites will eventually be like the sand on the seashore, which cannot be measured or counted.
From not my people to uncountable descendants.
Yes, and they'll be called sons of the living God. It's a truly remarkable swing from utter rejection to this boundless promise, almost in the same breath.
So it's not just a mood swing, it's pointing to something deeper.
It reveals, I think, a profound divine intention that looks beyond the immediate failure, beyond the necessary judgment. And this really sets the stage for that extended metaphor in chapter 2.
Where Israel is explicitly portrayed as the unfaithful wife.
Right. The text talks about Israel's adulterous look and her unfaithfulness. She's depicted chasing after lovers. These represent the Canaanite gods, the Baals.
Thinking they provide everything.
Exactly. Believing they give her food and water, wool and linen, oil and drink, as it says in verses 5 and 8.
Yeah.
But it's actually God's provision she's misattributing.
So what does the Lord do?
Well, there are disciplinary actions, severe ones. Blocking her path with thorn bushes, taking back his provisions, the grain, the new wine, the wool, the linen, exposing her lewdness before her lovers. That's verses 6 through 10. It's about consequences, stripping away the illusions.
Sounds pretty bleak.
It does. But then right after detailing all this, the divine voice makes another sharp turn. Verse 14, "Therefore I am now going to allure her. I will lead her into the desert and speak tenderly to her."
Allure her after all that.
Yes, lead her back to the place of their first relationship, the wilderness, and speak tenderly. This leads to the Valley of Achor, which means Valley of Trouble, referencing an old story of sin and judgment becoming a door of hope.
Trouble becomes hope. That's the transformation. Verse 15, this incredible shift points to a future where Israel won't call God my master Baal anymore, but my husband Ishi, where he'll betroth her to himself again in righteousness, justice, love, compassion, and faithfulness. Verses 16 to 20 lay out this beautiful restoration.
And to round off this whole section, chapter 3 gives us Hosea acting out this divine love himself in a really profound, almost heartbreaking way.
It's incredibly moving.
He's commanded again, "Go, show your love to your wife again, though she is loved by another and is an adulteress." And then the comparison, "Love her as the Lord loves the Israelites, though they turn to other gods and love the sacred raisin cakes."
Those raisin cakes, yeah, often linked to pagan fertility rites, the symbol of their idolatry.
So Hosea, despite everything, buys her back for 15 shekels of silver and some barley. It's very specific in Hosea 3.2. Then he sets terms, a period of separation before hopefully future reconciliation. What does this act by Hosea himself really cement for us? It just profoundly illustrates that relentless pursuit. God's love isn't passive. It's active, seeking, reclaiming, even when facing deep, repeated betrayal.
It mirrors God's actions.
Exactly. It's a perfect mirror image of the Lord's own relationship with Israel. It shows his love isn't, dependent on their good behavior. It's a persistent reclaiming force. And this act connects directly to Israel's own future, laid out right there in verses 4 and 5.
The time without a king or prince.
Right. For the Israelites will live many days without king or prince, without sacrifice or sacred stones, without ephod, that's a key priestly garment, or idol. A time of stripping away all the false reliances.
But not forever.
Not forever. It's presented as a necessary period of separation, kind of detox, before they eventually return and seek the Lord their God and David their king. A future restoration is still envisioned.
Okay, so we've seen this deeply personal, symbolic drama play out through Hosea's marriage and children. Now, the focus shifts more directly, right? How did Israel's actual actions compare to Gomer's unfaithfulness? What were the specific charges brought against them?
Yes, the later chapters get very specific. The Lord lays out his charge like a legal case against the land. Hosea 4, verse 1. There is no faithfulness, no love, no acknowledgement of God in the land. It's a damning summary.
And the details.
Verse 2 lists them. Cursing, lying, and murder, stealing and adultery, they break all bounds, and bloodshed follows bloodshed. It's a picture of complete societal breakdown.
And there's that line about knowledge.
Ah, yes, crucial. Hosea 4, verse 6. My people are destroyed from lack of knowledge. It's not just ignorance, it's a willful rejection of knowing God and his ways.
And it wasn't just the average person.
No, the corruption went deep. The priests is specifically called out. They're accused of feeding on the people's sin, enjoying it almost, and ignoring God's law.
Yeah.
Verses 7 to 9 point this out. The implication is clear. When leadership fails, when the foundations crumble, the whole society loses its way.
It really sounds like a total collapse, especially with that recurring theme of spiritual prostitution and idolatry. It wasn't just isolated acts, was it? It sounds systemic.
It absolutely was systemic. Hosea 4, verse 12 is stark. The people consult a wooden idol and are answered by a stick of wood. Think about that. A spirit of prostitution leads them astray. They are unfaithful to their God.
Seeking guidance from idols instead of God.
Exactly. They're sacrificing on mountaintops, under trees, common pagan practices. And verse 13 mentions widespread ritual prostitution involving daughters and daughters-in-law. It's painted as pervasive.
And Ephraim, that often stands for Israel, right, is singled out.
Yes, Ephraim, representing the northern kingdom of Israel, is described as incredibly stubborn, like a stubborn heifer in verse 16, hard to lead, resistant. And verse 17 says Ephraim is joined to idols, utterly bound up with them. This isn't just about, bad religious practice. It's about a complete misdirection of loyalty, trust, and resources.
And this internal spiritual decay, it seems, had external consequences, too, in their politics and military choices.
Absolutely. The text makes a direct link. Their spiritual unfaithfulness leads to disastrous real-world decisions. Hosea repeatedly points out their reliance on foreign powers, powerful empires like Assyria and Egypt, instead of trusting in the Lord.
We see that in chapters 5, 7, 8, 12.
Right. They're constantly looking for political alliances, for military fixes from human powers, instead of addressing the root spiritual problem. Ephraim is even described vividly in chapter 7 as a flat cake not turned over.
Half-baked.
Exactly, half-baked. Mixed with other nations, losing its distinct identity, getting its strength sapped without even realizing it. It's a powerful image of compromise leading to weakness.
And the idols they made themselves, like the golden calves.
Yes, the famous calf idols set up in places like Samaria and Bethaven, they're specifically condemned. Objects they worship, but which the text says will ultimately be useless, even carried off as tribute to Assyria. That's in chapters 8 and 10.
So it raises that crucial question, doesn't it? What happens when a people neglect their true source of strength, their wisdom, and chase after these, well, ultimately empty solutions?
And the text gives a chilling proverbial answer in Hosea 8, verse 7. They sow the wind and reap the whirlwind.
That phrase has certainly lasted, feels timeless.
It really does. It speaks to that almost natural law of consequences, doesn't it? That small, misguided choices, the wind you sow, can inevitably escalate into uncontrollable, destructive outcomes, the whirlwind. It's a principle you see play out far beyond just ancient Israel.
For sure. And the judgment described, stemming from all this, it gets really severe in the text. The imagery is often quite disturbing.
It is. The text doesn't shy away from depicting the grim consequences. Hosea 9 talks about Ephraim's glory flying away like a bird, no birth, no pregnancy, no conception, utter barrenness.
Devastating.
And chapter 10 speaks of fortresses being devastated, even mothers being dashed to the ground with their children in the violence of invasion. And the Lord himself declares in chapter 5, verse 14, using fierce imagery, I will be like a lion to Ephraim, like a great lion to Judah. I will tear them to pieces and go away. I will carry them off with no one to rescue them.
Like a predator, no escape.
It's a stark portrayal. Not just a vague threat, but a vivid picture of the terrible cost of sustained rebellion against the covenant relationship.
Okay, so after hearing all these harsh judgments, these really vivid descriptions of punishment and consequences, it's almost surprising that there's another shift. As we move into the later chapters, the tone seems to change again, becomes almost tender. It feels like there's this deep internal struggle within the Lord himself described.
That's a really crucial observation. And it's where the book, I think, truly reveals its deepest heart. You're right, the Lord's internal struggle is laid bare. He compares his relationship with Israel to a loving parent with a child.
Like in chapter 11.
Exactly. Hosea 11, verse 1. When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. Recalling their very beginning as a people.
That foundational story.
Yes. And he details how he personally taught Ephraim Israel to walk, how he took them by the arms, healed them, led them gently with cords of human kindness, with ties of love. That's verses 3 and 4. It's incredibly intimate language.
It really is.
But the absolute core of it, the emotional climax, is the divine anguish expressed later in that chapter, verses 8 and 9. You can almost hear the pain. How can I give you up, Ephraim? How can I hand you over, Israel?
Like, he can't bring himself to do it.
Precisely. My heart has changed within me. All my compassion is aroused. And then the resolution. I will not carry out my fierce anger, nor will I turn and devastate Ephraim. For I am God and not man, the Holy One among you. I will not come in wrath.
Wow. That's profound.
It's an incredible moment of divine pathos, a real glimpse into the tension between righteous anger, justice, and overwhelming compassionate love. It shows God isn't remote or unfeeling.
It really underlines that deep personal nature of the relationship you mentioned earlier, like a parent wrestling with how to discipline a child they still deeply love.
Exactly that feeling.
So even after all the unfaithfulness, all the judgment pronounced, there's still this persistent, powerful call for Israel to return. How does that message of restoration take shape at the end?
It culminates in the final chapter, Hosea 14. The invitation is direct, it's clear, it's powerful. Verse 1, "Return, O Israel, to the Lord your God. Your sins have been your downfall." Acknowledging the reality, but opening the door.
And it tells them how to return.
Yes, it lays out the path very clearly in verses 2 and 3. Take words of repentance with you. Say to him, "Forgive all our sins and receive us graciously. Forsake your reliance on Assyria, on war horses, symbols of military might. Abandon the idols your own hands have made. Acknowledge that compassion is found only in him."
So it's about turning back completely.
A complete reorientation. And if you connect this to the whole book, the bigger picture, it's the ultimate expression of that persistent divine love we've seen, even after profound rebellion.
And the promises that follow if they return.
They're just beautiful. The Lord promises healing in verse 4. "I will heal their waywardness and love them freely, for my anger is turned away from them." Free, unconditional love replacing anger.
And the imagery changes completely.
Completely. He paints this picture of vibrant life and flourishing in verses 5 to 7. "Israel will blossom like a lily, become strong and rooted like a cedar of Lebanon, regain its splendor, like an olive tree, become fruitful again, flourish like the grain, like a vine." It's the total reversal from the earlier images of destruction and barrenness.
From whirlwind to flourishing vine.
Exactly. And the book closes with this tender, almost intimate promise directly to Ephraim in verse 8. "O Ephraim, what more have I to do with idols?" It's like saying, let's be done with them. I will answer him and care for him. I am like a green pine tree. Your fruitfulness comes from me. God himself becomes their source of life and sustenance. It's a full circle back to dependence on him alone.
What an incredible journey through Hosea. We've seen such a raw, painful story unfold, haven't we? But ultimately, it lands on hope.
It really does.
And maybe the key takeaway, if you had to pick one, is that enduring nature of relentless love. A love that just keeps pursuing. Despite the deepest betrayals, it doesn't feel like just ancient history when you put it like that.
Not at all.
It feels like a profound way to think about relationships, about consequences, but also about the possibility of hope, of restoration, even when things seem completely broken. Relevant for us today, really.
Absolutely. And the book itself kind of leaves us with a final challenge, doesn't it? A thought for reflection, right from its very last verse, Hosea 14, verse 9.
Let's hear it.
It asks,
Oh.
"Who is wise? He will realize these things. Who is discerning? He will understand them." Then it states, "The ways of the Lord are right. The righteous walk in them, but the rebellious stumble in them."
So it puts the ball back in our court, so to speak.
Exactly. It encourages us, the readers, you listening now, to reflect on this, to seek wisdom and discernment, not just to understand an ancient text, but maybe to better understand patterns in our own lives, in relationships, the nature of consequences, and crucially, the enduring possibility of hope in restoration in any context. It's a call to apply that wisdom. We hope this deep dive leaves you not just well-informed, but also deeply curious for more. Until next time, keep diving deep.